The World Economic Forum, that gathering of billionaires, leaders, elected and unelected, an assortment of Batman villains, is underway. And there is no debate amongst the elite. No, there's just a lot of preaching, self-congratulation and unhinged ranting. Let's hear from climate change grifter Al Gore.
Creating the droughts and melting the ice and raising the sea level and causing these waves of climate refugees predicted to reach 1 billion in this century. Look at the xenophobia and political authoritarian trends that have come from just a few million refugees. What about 1 billion? We would lose our capacity for self-governance on this world. We have to act.
1 billion climate change refugees? Really, 1 billion? And here's another chronically wrong character.
We, select group of human beings, because of whatever touched us at some point in our lives, are able to sit in a room and come together and actually talk about saving the planet. I mean, it's so almost extraterrestrial to think about.
They're very special people, just ask them. The World Economic Forum has in recent years backed many a diabolical scheme, from Sri Lanka banning the use of fertilisers, well, that ended well, didn't it, to backing crypto conman Sam Bankman-Fried's ventures. Joining me now is Douglas Murray, Associate Editor of The Spectator and the best-selling author of The War on the West. Douglas, do we take the World Economic Forum seriously? Is it a threat against democracy and prosperity, or is it a clown show?
Well, I think it's increasingly become a clown show, because in recent years it's become clear that the World Economic Forum likes to hold itself out as this amazing gathering of extraordinary figures who get to think about our collective future. In actual fact, it's become clear over recent years in particular, this really isn't where the real discussion is. I mean, you know, if you're going to set up a forum to discuss the future of the planet, you would, for instance, need people who had different opinions from one another. Davos doesn't do that. They just have the mono Davos opinion. And actually in recent years, a lot of people have been sort of drifting away from the forum in the realization that it's just not where the thinking is. It's a forum where everybody has thought the same thing for years now. I don't see it as a threat to democracy. I don't think that the World Economic Forum is that. That's to give it far too much credit. It has an enormous influence, that's for sure. And really it's because there's a sort of groupthink, which, as you well know, Rita, is one of the problems in our politics in all of our countries. You know, you elect a leader of the left or a leader of the right, and effectively you've got the same sort of squishy Davos type. It's a great shame that it has this influence, but I think the influence will keep on being interrupted as more and more people realize that these elites are gathering, having a discussion that's increasingly divorced from the reality that the rest of us live in.
Absolutely divorced, and no accountability. No matter how many bad ideas that they float and get implemented, there's no learning coming from that at all. Now,
look at the two people we've just seen them, Mr. Kerry and Mr. Gore. What have they got in common? Oh, they were rejected at the ballot box. They were rejected at the ballot box by the American people. So they go to Davos and explain why. I mean, America isn't a big enough canvas for them. They've got to do the planet.
I think they both lost to George W., didn't they? That's something else they share in common. Now, Jacinda Ardern, she enjoyed worldwide media adulation and one of the longest political honeymoons in recent history. But finally, the New Zealand people woke up to her disastrous reign. And Douglas, I've got to say, you were one of the first to see through her empty moral posturing. You called her style of leadership performative caring.
Yes, that's right. I've thought this ever since I first really laid eyes on her. I think there's a phoniness about the woman. I think there's a fakeness. You can see it in her weird facial tics and gestures, her weird laughs, and her weird overdone pseudo-compassion. You can see it even in this resignation speech where she sort of... I thought it was sort of pretty pathetic, actually. A lot of people say, oh, well, she should be praised for her vulnerability and for showing vulnerability and much more. Here's the thing about Ardern. She came in by presenting herself as this completely new being, among other things, a female leader, because of course we've never seen that in the world before. but the right type of female leader, one who leads with compassion and care and a sweet smile to everyone and every child. And the thing is, actually, when it came to the test, she was far from compassionate towards the people of the country she was ruling. She was far from compassionate when she put the people in New Zealand through lockdown after lockdown. On one occasion, because there was a single case of COVID identified in the country. So bang, New Zealand goes back into lockdown again. She wasn't compassionate about all of the troubles that the peoples of the country went through those benighted years. You know, so yes, I called her out early for it, and and I stand by that. I think there's a fake form of compassion in the modern era where you do all the right shibboleths, you know, you do all the right caring noises, and actually as a result you can get away with monstrous things, which is what she did. So I'm very glad to see her go. I've got no pity for her, as she now tells us she's got no fuel in the tank and she's kind of burnt out. You know, she should think of the people she burnt through among the population of the country, and she's only going now because she really knows she's going to lose the upcoming election. And from now on, of course, she will be able to go to Davos every year and continue the honeymoon.
Well, that's it. I mean, people around the world, I think, really, they see the media coverage. They don't see just how inept her government has been and how much they have failed, not just in COVID policy, but everything from housing to race relations.